What's up, metalheads? Welcome to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast, where we geek out on all things rock and roll. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Leave us your likes and comments. You can also leave likes and comments on our Facebook page. Follow us on iTunes and Spotify, as well as Instagram. And, of course, our website, our updated website, talklouderpodcast.com. Thank you to Scott Moon.
Yeah, tell us about Scott Moon's. I came up with a good idea, Dave.
Yeah, you sure did. Jason came up with the great idea of having a ticker on our website that basically scrolls across, and you can see all of our past guests that have been on the show.
Guest list, a moving
it's the guest list. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then below that, you can click on the names of our previous guests and go straight to the episode. Which is a huge addition to the website. So thanks to Jason for coming up with a great idea, and thanks to Scott for executing. It really looks good.
Moonray.net. Thank you, Scott Moon at moonray.net. We still have these beauties, these Talk Louder coffee mugs, available for sale on our website, and that same logo on a T-shirt. Get yours today. Let's talk about this episode we have today. Why don't you talk about our fabulous guest today?
Indeed. We have Ron Jarzombeck with us today, guitarist extraordinaire. Ron did...
In his own right. You don't even have to mention a band. He's just got fans just by saying Ron Jarzombeck.
Exactly. But he has been affiliated with some bands that people would be interested in, Watchtower being one of them, S.A. Slayer, Spastic Ink, Blotted Science. He's toured with Marty Friedman. There's
other things that are not even, like, I guess you have to go to Wikipedia, but I think he did some stuff with a project called Gordian Knot. There's a lot of people, a lot of names in underground metal and death metal and progressive metal who play on his Spastic Ink and his Blotted Science records. He has surrounded himself with basically the greatest hard rock, heavy metal, progressive thrash metal musicians that there are in the world. Please check out his website at ronjarzombeck.com. But Dave, you were saying, sorry.
No, he's highly regarded in that arena being technical prog, guitar, thrash metal, speed metal, weird metal, sci-fi metal, whatever you want to call it. He's all those things and more, and has mad respect from his peers, has a great reputation in his own right. We're just lucky that Jason has some history with him. He's a San Antonio guy, so he's here from Texas.
If you've seen our Bobby Jarzombek episode, which was a much earlier episode than the one we just taped with Ron today, we get a little bit more insight on their being brothers in their early days from Ron today than we did. I mean, Bobby did talk about his early beginnings as playing country in his music teacher's band at like an early teen age.
Yeah.
I don't really recall hearing Bobby talk about him singing AC/DC songs.
I think we got an exclusive out of Ron today. Yeah.
I think we did. Yeah. So where I'm fishing here. But I feel like you guys should go back as well after this episode and watch the Bobby Jarzombek episode, and you'll connect a lot of dots, just like you will with the Dave McLean episode and the Don Van Stavern episode.
And the Mike Solis.
And the Mike Solis episode. Yeah. It's just going to keep going, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're thrilled to have him today on the Talk Louder podcast, Ron Jarzombeck.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Ron, nice to meet you. I don't think we've ever met. I think we have about 100 mutual friends, but I can't say that we've ever met that I can recall.
I somehow can't believe that.
Yeah, I thought we met at the AT&T Center. I think it was a Kiss concert or maybe Motley Crue.
That's highly possible, yeah.
But if there was Budweiser involved, chances of
Budweiser girls, yeah.
Remembering anything is kind of
yeah. Well, if we have met in the past and I forgot, forgive me. If not, welcome to the show today. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, you and Jason have a long history together. So I'll let Jason take the lead and just sort of chime in a little bit. Jace, what do you want to start with?
I think that it's important for people to know, because I don't even know, like your first band, when you even started, when you picked up a guitar, when you thought it was a good idea to try to build a guitar, you know, because that's your, you know, the guitar is kind of part of your body. And, you know, later we'll get into some history, because I know you actually had some operations on your fingers.
Yeah.
And you recovered, and your business is still playing guitar. So, you know, where were you born? Tell us where you were born, and then tell us the story right up until the time you discovered guitar.
Well, I've been in San Antonio my whole life. My first instrument was actually piano. When I was in second grade, I was in singing class, and I noticed that the notes were going da 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 as we were singing it. Told my mom, so she signed me up for piano classes. And then was playing football and everything. All my classmates found out I played piano, and they're like, "Why don't you switch to guitar? It's cooler."
Wow.
So, yeah. And so around this same time, Bobby was playing drums in school too. He was playing just snare drum, you know, doing rudiments and all that kind of stuff like that. And that was the beginning of the first band with me and Bobby. And then our older brother Ralph came in later.
And you sang, didn't you?
Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah, Bobby too, kind of.
You got any recordings of that shit?
No. Yeah, Mom said that we should have made recordings when we were kids, and we never did.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, Bobby used to sing the AC/DC stuff, and I would sing UFO terribly. Terribly.
Wow.
And then we had later on, we got our old school friend, John Bentley, and we went under the name Tarot.
Okay.
Did you hear that story, Tarot, when I told it at the reunion thing that y'all played?
The South Texas Legion thing?
Yeah.
I think you did. There was so much lore being told about at that little Q&A there at Fitzgerald's that day.
Yeah, it's a great day.
I couldn't soak it all up, dude. I was emotionally shocked.
Yeah.
At all the things that I was hearing just about San Antonio and my people in San Antonio and their earliest beginnings. It was really a trip. Anyway.
Yeah, but Bobby and I and Ralph and then John Bentley, we had a band, and we thought the word Tarot was tarot. But you pronounce it tarot, like Tarot Woman from Rainbow.
Yeah.
Right.
And so once we discovered that it was pronounced tarot, we added an R, and then it was Tarrot, but we called it tarot.
Like carrot.
Like, yeah, that's what they say, carrot, tarot.
Wow.
But that was, we played, clubs. That was the first club, Razzle Dazzle on Austin Highway. That was when I was 16.
Wow.
That's where we first played. And then we played at
Remember any songs? You were playing AC/DC and UFO. What else?
Scorpions, Priest, Let It Roll. I remember Lights Out.
Wow. How old were you? 16. You could play those solos and Let It Roll?
Yeah, and then we did Sales of Karen, and
oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was
16
really
years old playing Uli John Roth, which is pre-Yngwie neoclassical shred. 16 years old.
And then around that same time, Bob Catlin and Art were in a band called Blizzard. No, Art wasn't in that band, but Catlin was.
Wow, that's a cool band name.
Yeah, and then we would play all those little fun and games places like that. And it was a pretty cool, really cool time.
Yeah, not to derail your story at all, but one of the earliest Watchtower shows, when it was mainly cover songs, we would play the video game arcades as well.
Yeah.
There was one on South Lamar called Computer Madness. And that's like a title you would come up with, Computer Madness.
Yeah.
And it was like, they had the Pac-Man and the Defender and the Joust, and
that's all they had there.
early 80s, Galaga and all that. They had a couple of pool tables, and it was dark and cold in there. It was teenagers.
Frogger.
Yep.
They have Frogger asteroids.
Yep. Teenagers just killed their Saturdays there. And, they'd probably go out back and smoke joints too, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
But you know what? I tell you, it's very similar. Please carry on.
No, from there, then we did Tear It for quite a while. And then that's where we kind of branched off after a little bit. That's where I got in S.A. Slayer, and then Bobby got in Juggernaut a little bit after that.
Yeah.
And then that's where you came in, Jason. After S.A. Slayer came Watchtower for me.
So for people listening, your brother obviously is Bobby Jarzombek, renowned drummer who's played with so many people, Sebastian Bach, Rob Halford, Fates Warning. He's currently with George Strait, played with Juggernaut. So first of all, is he older or younger than you?
About a year and a half older.
Okay, so he's your older brother. So take us back to, let's rewind a bit. When you guys are kids, is there any of the whole Van Halen kind of vibe going on where you're playing the drums and he's playing guitar and then you guys swapped, or are you guys...
I thought I started playing drums first, but obviously Bobby took over and did a much better job than I did. I remember banging on sticks, I used to build stuff, but Bobby soon picked up the drums and did a far better job than I ever could. But
well, I'll just be the first to say he does a far better job than most.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true.
And likewise, Ron, we could say the same about Ron on guitar here. So,
well, I didn't want to embarrass the man.
Yeah, well, that's what the show's for.
Yeah. Welcome to your life, Ron.
Yeah. So, Ron, you're well known for your innovative approach toward guitar, your technical approach toward guitar. So, again, back when you're a kid and you start, you give up piano and you start gravitating towards guitar. Who are you emulating at that time? Because I'm guessing your guitar heroes were not Angus Young and Ace Frehley like so many of our guests, given your technical direction.
Don't
or
forget,
were they?
I know Ron is a big Kiss fan, though.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. You understand what Kiss means to music. So
to backtrack a little bit, before we were even in bands and stuff, Bobby came home one time. I was maybe in the 4th grade and he was in the 5th grade or 6th grade, and he brought home Kiss Alive, and that was huge.
Yeah.
Cold Jam, Parasite, Deuce, all those songs. Soon after we got a band, it was just me and Bobby, I think, originally, but we learned 31 Kiss songs.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's impressive.
Yeah, we even did the makeup and goofed off with that. I guess everybody did.
Sure.
What
What year was that you honed in and learned 31 tunes?
It had to have been late 70s, I guess.
Okay, so it's safe to say that this was when Kiss was taking over the universe.
Well, 74 was the first Kiss Alive album, right?
Well, no, it was actually recorded January of Destroyer came out January of 76, so 75 was when the record
74,
came
75.
out. So you were 10, 11 years old when the record came out.
Yeah, but he brought that in, and from there it was just, here comes all of the hard rock. I don't think that's metal, but
I'm glad you said that, but it's definitely gateway. Would you agree that stuff like Kiss and AC/DC are like forefathers of what became metal?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been Black Sabbath.
Yeah. Well, they're minor and they're detuning and right.
I just think Kiss had a bigger impact on Kiss just because the show was so good.
Yeah.
You just couldn't top that show back then.
No.
All the makeup.
Untouchable.
It was just something else. And then that was, 75, 74, and then 76 came 2112. And then from then, the story with that, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, once 2112 came into the picture, it was just, all the proggy stuff and everything. And so
from your youth, it's kind of like Kiss Alive, and then 2112. Like Game Changer #1, Game Changer.
Yeah, then we backtracked. I remember me and Bobby, we went to a Flipside record parlor and we saw the first Rush album,
Yeah.
with the logo on there, and it had John Rutsey. And I'm like, oh, what happened? Neil's out of the band, whatever. And so we had to backtrack, and then we got.
That's hilarious. I've never heard it put that way before.
I've never heard that either.
Neil quit? Did he join Genesis or some shit?
Wow, who's this guy Rutsey that replaced Neil? He must be a monster.
That's a mess when you get it wrong. I hope you didn't go to a party and say, dude, y'all hear Neil quit?
Yeah, so Fly By Night, was right after that one. We got that one. Caress of Steel, we got that one. But on Fly By Night was By Tour and the Snow Dog.
Yes.
Then it just, 2112 was something in itself, but By Tour and the Snow Dog, to me, that's my favorite, one of my top favorite songs ever.
Well, the fact that they were using Taurus pedals and echo plexes and like grinding all those low sub notes and like making them talk and growl like it's a monster, like it's a snow dog, and they're creating this like sort of Pink Floyd, heavy metal version of Pink Floyd, and there's nothing else to call that except prog.
Well, that was the beginning of all of the longer pieces, and because that was before 2112.
Correct.
And but once that hit, then the whole concept thing for me just kind of was like, a light bulb went off. And, it wasn't just about songs. It was about, the bigger picture, because y'all mentioned Van Halen before, and the first guitar that I built was actually a Flying V. And it was striped like it was a V. It wasn't a Strat, but Van Halen was in the picture. Of course, everybody, younger guitar players, Van Halen. But, Van Halen was just very well constructed songs, a lot of charisma on stage and everything. But the Rush thing for me was huge.
Yeah.
Were you taking guitar lessons at this time, or were you self-taught, or was it a combination, or how did your early education with guitar go?
I actually Bobby was taking drum lessons from a guy named Dick Kettner. How I remembered that, I have no idea. But yeah, Dick Kettner and somebody else at his place taught guitar. And I had like maybe 3 lessons, but they were teaching me the Old Grey Goose and stuff like that. And so my teachers were Ace Frehley and Alex Lifeson.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's an excellent combo.
Yeah.
I feel like both of those guys, even though they're very different players, both of those guys they love like, the Yardbirds and Jimmy Page and the Stones, and they like all that blue, Jeff Beck, and they love those guys. And once again, Ace is this kind of like, sort of like keeping it loose and sort of like does a rinse and repeat thing, is where Alex was. He loves that, and he's real rock and roll. Yeah, Alex is a very rock and roll type guitar player, but he could do math.
Yeah. Very well, yeah.
Yeah,
so it's safe.
Maybe Ace didn't pass math, but Alex definitely did.
Well, all of that, the smoking pickup and all that stuff, that was, man, when you're a kid, you just love that stuff, man.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, it makes the guitar sound better. Wait.
So safe to say you're more or less self-taught. Is that safe to say?
Well, in college, I took 2 years of music theory, but I was playing guitar way before that.
Right.
So, now that I think about it, I don't even know if I did take official lessons. Wow. I buy VHS tapes. It was Paul Gilbert and, Steve Lukather and those guys like that. But yeah, mostly it was just learning songs.
The MIT guys putting out, the GIT, the Institute guys that were putting out VHS tapes in the 80s.
I think it was called.
Yeah, those were popular with all my friends.
Oh, yeah. I think after the Rush thing, then Priest came in, and then Glenn Tipton, obviously with the haircut.
You've always had the Glenn.
Yeah.
Glenn Tipton was just a huge influence on me. The whole KK and Glenn, the twin guitar thing.
I love it when there's 2 guys, and I love it when there's 2 different guys.
Hmm.
because they're very, very different.
Different styles.
Just like and Slayer kind of adapted that, maybe not on purpose, but you know, Hanneman and King, their attacks are completely different.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
Harry's more of the KK Downing, and
Whammy bar guy, yeah.
yeah, and Hanneman's more of the shredder guy that's maybe a little slightly more organized. But anyway, yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Were you were you playing with two guitar players in your early bands, or not until Slayer?
Yeah, until S.A. Slayer Kaplan
Okay.
came along. And that was, for me, the whole S.A. Slayer thing was a great experience because Kaplan was a little older than me. And I remember on the way to practice, I just learned a lot from Kaplan. I don't think he even knows this, but
Wow.
yeah, I just learned a lot by just, the old green van. Remember that,
Yeah,
Jason?
of course I do. It's infamous. I talk about the green van every chance I get. Anyone who will listen, I talk about the green van.
Yeah, but so many stories on the way to practice, and Kaplan would just kind of just educate me on just how things worked in a band.
Yeah.
Because when I was in a band with, Bobby and older brother and that John Bentley, I don't know, it was family. Family came first, and then it was the band was kind of around that, but S.A. Slayer was the band.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I learned a lot. Don was also a little bit older from me. I learned a lot from Don. He probably doesn't know that either.
Wow.
But those two guys, they kind of ran S.A. Slayer.
You know, I have to jump in here and give credit where it's due, and just to see your reaction. We literally had Dave McLean on the show the other day, and his episode, of course, is not out yet. We just saw an edit of it today, and it came out beautifully.
Awesome.
But he talks about, it was Don, because Dave was recruited by Don when they were like 13.
Yeah, they were brothers back then. Yeah.
And Don, I mean, claims to have half raised the boy. You know what I mean? Like took Dave in under his wing and really gave a shy kid confidence and showed him how to be in a band and showed him it's like, this is the way. And look at Dave has created a career out of just and you kind of have too. So back to where you were, you're being influenced by these guys that sort of like, hey Ron, we want you to be in Slayer. Come on, okay.
Yeah, it was weird. My first real band experience.
What year was that? 83, 84?
I know I got in Watchtower in 86, so I'd say probably 83, 84.
Yeah.
And then I learned a lot from Rick Shreves when we went to Boston Studios.
Yeah.
Remember? Great.
Yeah, Rick Shreves was the engineer at the Boss Studios, Bob O'Neill Sound Studios, which is mentioned in Dave McLean's episode. Talk louder, listeners and watchers. Wait for the Dave McLean episode. Wait for this episode. You will be able to connect many, many dots. Carry on, Ron.
Yeah, and then from then on, S.A. Slayer happened, and around this time, Bobby was, I think, doing the Riot time around this time,
So,
and, go ahead.
What year are we talking?
God, you got me on that one. But
Well, Bobby was in Riot when Don was in Riot, and not before.
yeah.
So we're talking right around, and here, just for the record, McLean, drummer, S.A. Slayer, Dave McLean, moved to Los Angeles in '86.
Yeah, that was weird when he took.
That's after Narita, though. That's
Yeah,
after
that
Narita.
was weird. The whole Narita thing with Mark Reale came in, and then Dave was just kind of gone. And I thought that was weird that Don and Dave were separated at that time because for when I met them, they were in a band called Seance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when S.A. Slayer had just started. That's when,
like a week after Seance broke up, or a week after, the way McLean puts it, maybe you know this, maybe you don't know this, but McLean apparently was fired from Seance, and Seance got a different drummer because the new drummer had a PA system. Which that's the funny part. And so it was like a week later that Don called Dave and said, "Hey, let's form our own thing."
Yeah.
And it was early Slayer.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that would have been late '82, early '83.
something like that.
Because that's prior to your involvement in Slayer. Because it would have been Art and Bob and Steve and right.
Yeah, Art was out. I'm not sure what happened with that whole thing, but yeah, I got in 83, 84, something like that.
Yep, late 83. Yep.
Yeah, Narita came around, Mark Rayleigh, Don, worshipped Riot back then, even before he was in the band.
Yeah, I know
so that was Don's dream gig. So I kind of understood, it's like my band was gone, but I kind of understood that Don, was with, Narita with Mark Rayleigh.
Yeah, he was, I mean, when you think about it, being thrust into a situation or given an opportunity to write songs with a guy that sort of molded the last 8 years of your life, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. And so that was a good move for Don. Then Cooper came in because they had a different singer, and then Cooper with Narita. And then, and then for me, Watchtower came, and then that was even more doors opened up,
Right.
We should clarify a couple things. Your involvement in S.A. Slayer and Watchtower. With S.A. Slayer, you join in time to do the Go for the Throat record, correct?
Yeah.
And then
Prepare to Die was out, and I did a lot of the gigs with them before Go for the Throat.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's your timeline in S.A. Slayer is basically the live guitarist after Prepare to Die is recorded and released, and then that leads into the Go for the Throat LP.
Yeah, but Go for the Throat wasn't released until after I was in Watchtower, because I remember, I think it was Swiss Chris.
That's correct.
Right? Were you in the room, Jason, at the time? I'm pretty sure.
What? Tell the story, because
just
to put it in a bucket for a second before you talk about what led up to the release of Go for the Throat, and I mentioned it in McLean's episode.
Yeah, Go for the Throat was sitting around for probably about a year or two.
Yep, and a friend of ours, Chris Liebengut, came into all of our lives and decided that, here's the master tapes. Oh, cool. Here's all the photos, and here's the album cover art, and here's the logo, and all I got to do is find the money to put this shit out. And that's what happened. But leading up, tell us the story, because there is a backstory.
Yeah, and then he brought the album in, the Slayer album, and I was like, wow, the album came out. But yeah, by this time I was already starting to work with Watchtower. So it happened. And
we rehearsed at your house. Swiss Chris came to Austin and just never left and was living with Rick and Doug. You remember that?
Yeah, very well.
Of course you do. Yeah.
Now, did you guys cross paths in Watchtower, or Jason, were you already gone and Ron is now working with Techio in time to do the Control and Resistance record?
No. If I may, it was Billy and Ron were buddies. Watchtower and S.A. Slayer were a great pair of, we played shows with Hellstar. Imagine a show with Slayer, Hellstar, and Watchtower on the same bill.
Yeah.
And then mixing it all up. Yes, the greatest times of our lives, and they've been immortalized in the book that Juan Herrera put out called As Viewed from the Pit. I advise anyone to go to that website, asviewedfromthepit.com, and get a copy of that, because it's unbelievable. It has everything and anything that we're talking about and more. So when you think about these shows, and we're all chums and having the best time of our 20-something years, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 years, it's the best time. When you think about how short those years were, that blows me away, because you realize that, Ron, that was a flash in time.
Yeah,
it was between 80. It was
learning time too.
Yes, for everyone, and we were still kids. We didn't know how to treat each other. We didn't know how to properly fire someone from a band or even hire someone from a band. We didn't know how to, I learned a lot between all of those transitions. And I'll start like this: Billy White decides to leave Watchtower. He decides to go with us to California to play our only 2 out-of-state shows, in which I had tried to recruit Marty Friedman. Here comes the 6 degrees of separation, everyone. And Mike Varney helps me get Marty to come to the Mabuhay Gardens in San Francisco to see Watchtower, to see if he if he likes what's going on with our thing. And long story short, Marty tries to recruit Rick and Doug without me knowing about it. And I couldn't find Marty after the gig to see if he wants to do business. And I find Rick and Doug, and I'm like, dude, I can't find him anywhere. He must have split. And Rick and Doug look at each other and look at me and go, yeah, we talked to him. He wanted to hire us.
I totally forgot about the Marty Friedman story, but was there a possibility that he would have been in Watchtower?
I was trying to recruit him for Watchtower. I talked to Mike Varney. I said, need
that would have
guitar
been
player.
A great mix.
I said, Billy White's leaving. What do we do? You know any hot guitar players that want to come to Texas, 6 months out of the year? I don't know what I was doing. I was a kid. And he was like, what about Marty? What's he? He's actually in between things, man. He's kind of a free agent right now. I'll send him down. Awesome. And I think I wrote some letters to Marty, or Mike set it up for me, and he showed up to the gig. I still to this day, I've never met Marty. I'm on a fucking record with Marty. I've never met him.
So y'all were trying to steal Marty, and Marty was trying to steal
Rick and Doug.
Yeah.
And it's all water under the bridge. I didn't get angry. You know what I mean? Rick and Doug didn't just move to San Francisco and form a band with Marty. It's just funny.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you end up just to throw fire on the gasoline. You end up being second guitar on a tour with Marty.
2 tours, yeah.
Amazing. Let's go back to what we are just talking about, because
I don't even get the mind blown here.
hadn't even come into the picture, other than when Billy leaves, you're the only and first and only person I decided that needs to take Billy's place. And you were on the fence, weren't you? Why were you on the fence?
I was on the fence, and I'm sure you know all this, because when you first called me, I thought I was going to be in the band with Billy. And I was just imagining harmonies and all this kind of stuff. And then you said, no, Billy's out. Yeah. And then I was like, so I'm supposed to replace Billy White.
Yes.
And I was like, damn, that's some...
It's just weird to me hearing these guitar gods go, I can't replace
Billy
White.
Billy was just something else back then.
Tell me how you really feel about Billy, because I know you and Bob Catlin really gave Billy props anywhere and everywhere. In Art Villarreal, too. All of you guys really loved Billy's playing. He's a one of a kind.
He just had his personality and his character and his stage presence and everything was just something else.
Yeah.
And, I remember it was a real hard, I don't know if you know this, Jason, but I had such a hard time with the whole Billy White thing. Like you probably know, but
we all did. I think the sound of the band changed with your entrance into the band, and it's no secret, and that's fine. I wear that on my sleeve. I know it's okay with you guys for me to say exactly how I feel. It's unhealthy to hold it in. The sound of the band changed with you came in. You did a perfect job of recreating what Billy White brought to the band, but you also added your own, and of course you had carte blanche to when you started writing with Doug Keyser and weighing in on your ideas. You were very, very welcome, of course.
It took a while, though. I mean, we have to tell the Snuffleupagus story, dude.
Of course, please tell it.
Any story that involves Snuffleupagus, we got it.
The only one I know.
Spill it, Ron.
So what happened was it took a while for me to learn how to write with Rick and Doug. You don't bring in a song and they play the song as is. That's the way me and Bobby work. It's structured out. You have to play this part. It's like everything is all glued together. Pieces fitting in and stuff like that. Watchtower, you bring in a tune and you see what Rick and Doug do with it.
Yeah.
But that tune connects to another tune, but then this tune sounds different. So you can't connect those two tunes. And so anyways, I had a constructed song, and the verse of it had on the downbeat of it was missing. It went, da-da. Come on, Jason, you got to sing this. Da-da, 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 like this kind of thing. And it sounded good when I played it on my drum machine. But when Rick and Doug, when they got a hold of it, I got to do it, Jason. I got to do it. You ready?
Yeah.
So Jason said, man, it sounds like Snuffleupagus. And then he gets his arm to his shoulder like this and did this.
I did the elephant sound. Let me see if I can do it.
You did?
I might throw my back out doing it.
You did it at a gig, too.
Oh, I used to do it on stage all the time. That's all I got. It's more visual than it is audio.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, you see the elephant trunk.
So from then on, and still to this day, if I were to work with Rick and Doug, anything that we would write that didn't have a note on the downbeat of the first count, we would call it snuff. And that came from Jason.
You create your own. You create your own language.
Like it's a Watchtower word, snuff.
Yeah.
I actually have a song on Solitarily Speaking, my solo CD, called Snuff, and there's no note on the downbeat of the whole 2.5 minute song. But yeah, Jason came up with that, and that whole Snuffleupagus thing. It was just. But anyways, yeah, it took me a while to get to learn how to write with the band. I just kind of learned that you can't have everything the way you think it sounds at home because it just doesn't work. So it took us a while to write songs. Jason remembers all this stuff. Just trying to put songs together was hard.
Writing with those guys, I talk about it quite often, actually, because I learned so much being in a band with Rick and Doug and Billy, as well as you, even though it was for a short while. You and Rick and Doug. Mm-hmm. In the old days, I feel like it's no secret at this time. They would hand me a sheet of lyrics. I'd show up.
I've heard this story. The tape for Dum Dum. Remember that tape?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and
classic tape.
And it was. I have it on the rack behind me. I think tape for Dum Dum.
I listened to that thing at least 30 times all the way back. That's what I learned the songs with, tape for Dum Dum.
You and probably somewhat. Well, Alan was probably listening to demos, and I want to talk about Alan on the plane with a Walkman listening to the cassette demos because it was 80.
More great times, man. More
incredible. So here we are, 19 years old or whatever, and they're handing me a sheet of lyrics, and there's not really a rhyme scheme either.
Nope.
And so okay, right. This is not God of Thunder. This is something else.
Too, I heard that whole song changed too, but go ahead.
Yeah. So they're going, okay, so when Jason and I tap, because they're playing, 7s and 13s and 9s and right. And they go, all right, I'm going to tap, Jason, I'm going to tap on your foot when I want you to start. I'm going to tap on your foot when I want you to stop. And that is the verse. And then the next time I tap on your foot, that's the chorus. Ready? Shit, yeah, I'm ready. So
was that Billy or Doug? It was Billy, right?
It was Billy more than Doug, kind of showing me where everything is, which seemingly had structure, like you're talking about. Pieces had been put together, and they had rehearsed up these songs prior to them even probably having lyrics, and they had an idea of where they wanted to stick all these lyrics. Well, there's more lyrics than there are room for phrase. You know what I mean? So like measures, if you will, there's so many words and syllables in there. I'm having to structure this song within a song, and it's kind of like, a circle in a square hole. So I feel like that's what I kind of brought to Watchtower in the early days, was fitting that circle, that round peg into a square hole, of Billy basically showing me where those time signatures were, where he sort of had his vision of where the lyrics went. And we would do the same with Doug's lyrics as well. But I feel like for someone who I don't read music, those guys can sight read stuff. If Billy or Doug wrote a riff and they could make notation, they could hand it to Rick and he could play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As you know, because you used to do that. So I don't know shit like that. So it was pretty much, they were on another level to me, and I learned so much about how to find, how to push and drag, with my voice of where I can create, and it helped me write melodies later on. Just that little exercise, and I feel like I got really good at it. Hence the material.
Well,
And
I don't know if we're gonna end up talking about mathematics, which hopefully we don't. But that's one of the biggest issues to this day, is trying to make lyrics fit into the square peg and the it's like
I get it. Yeah,
just trying to force these kind of lyrics. And Doug's great lyricist, but it depends what you put them over.
Yeah.
Sometimes things don't work, but some of the songs that were supposed to be on mathematics, the lyrics were fitted into totally different songs. And well, I'm kind of skipping way ahead.
I don't think so, because we're talking about your entry into Watchtower and how you wrote songs with that, and what your feelings were, maybe even at, because you told us how you felt about Billy and the respect that you had for him, and you were on the fence, and we come back from California all happy because we had gotten the message that you had decided to do this, and this would have been January or late December.
Wow, you remember months. I don't remember months.
Yeah. Well, we were in California with Billy at his last two shows, and Walt Treshler drove us out there in a shitty old van, and Jeff Tweedy was with us, and Brian Bowen was with us, and it was the best time ever, even though we were going to miss Billy badly,
What was kind of funny about that time was that, when I got in the band, and you would have thought that me and Billy, since I kind of stepped into his, or tried to step into his shoes the best I could, that we maybe were enemies or something. But when I practiced with Watchtower, I stayed at Billy's house.
Yeah.
And we had the greatest times, playing and stuff and talking and everything. But that was my regular spot, was to hang out with Billy.
What was it that convinced you to move forward and join Watchtower? Because you said earlier that you initially thought you were going to be teaming up with Billy and you guys were going to be a guitar duo, and then all of a sudden you find out you're going to be the lone guitarist, which was not what you had in mind. So what goes on in your head at that point when you find out the equation has changed? And then what was it within your own mind that said, well, okay, we'll adjust accordingly and still go forward with this?
A phone call from Doug.
So what did Doug tell you that...
Whenever Watchtower and S.A. Slayer and Hellsing, Jason was always talking to everybody, talking all the time. And Rick and Doug, they kind of stayed, to themselves. They didn't do a lot of the socializing stuff.
Right.
And Jason, I got along great with Jason. And, I was just thinking to myself, maybe just Jason wants me in the band, and maybe not those other guys. And so Doug finally ended up calling me, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll give it a shot. It's going to be rough, but then I stepped up for that. And I remember the first couple of gigs were pretty rough. Jason, I remember I was kind of an asshole to Fred. Remember Fred?
Yeah. Fred Mitchum. Yeah.
Yeah. No. There was another Fred that was involved. And I remember he did videotapes with Billy, some Godzilla stuff. And I remember he liked Billy a lot.
That's Fred Mitchum.
Okay. And I just had a hard time just with that whole thing, because I knew he just worshiped Billy. And I just didn't get along with the guy. And before I knew it, I think he was kind of out or something.
I think that there's some changing of the guard going on anyway. We were growing up, Fred was acting manager of the band, just to be clear. And I'm still in touch with Fred Mitchum, and he's still...
Yeah, he was doing everything that he could, and I just remember it was just a bit much for me at the time.
Well, you had shoes to fill. You were working hard on trying to find your own reasons to be, and what's next for me, and what am I going to do with this stuff. And I think it was a bit nervy, and I think that the band was it was just growing pains. I'm sure there's no hard feelings.
I wonder what was weird. I thought about this the other day. Because I know Billy was at our first show, the one that I wonder what was going on through his head when he was...
That was fucking weird.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking.
He created the band with those guys.
Yeah.
That was his baby.
Yeah, and then he's watching the band, and it was his choice too.
Yeah.
he was kind of drifting musically into a different direction.
Well, when you think about it in retrospect, when a lot of people get mad at their favorite member leaving the band or whatever, it's kind of like, dude, you're not him. You don't know what's going on. You don't know his growing pains and what his reason for living is right now.
Yeah.
And so now that we're older, we understand how to treat each other a little bit better and what might have been his reason.
Yeah.
And I was just happy because he wasn't trying to be an asshole. I mean, he agreed to go do those shows with us.
Yeah.
That was a big moment for us. I feel like whoever was at those shows in California, they saw like unicorns, because that was a different thing to see that lineup sort of dissipate before their very eyes. So let's move on, because we can't. I could talk to you for 10 hours. We need to move on. You know, of course things get weird, and I leave the band, and I get Alan in the band, and Mike Solis comes in, and
Mike did a great job. He did a lot of gigs. Mike kicked ass.
Love Mike to death, and he's a soldier, and he was one of us, and Militia was always following, the Hellstar and Slayer and Watchtower. They were there. They were one of us. They were as big as us. They held their own. They could headline, and they did, and they're still doing great things. Mm-hmm. But the whole like Texas metal thing was such a beautiful moment in its birthing. So without getting into politics of what went down, basically in a nutshell, I could say, I was growing as a singer. I was going to go record songs I wrote finally for the first time in my life. And I felt like that was attractive as to why. That's really a big reason why I feel like I was walking away from Watchtower and starting a new era for myself personally. It wasn't because I thought the band was going to be a better fit by any means. I was just growing as a singer and my personality. Mm-hmm. Now, when you think about that changing of the guard, and Alan is coming from Jersey on a plane to Berlin with cassettes that I sent him. Here's all the songs you need to learn for the Control record, and he's got a Walkman on, and he's listening. Yeah, tell us, you guys get a deal, and you go to Germany to record Control and Resistance, finally the second album from Watchtower, with almost 5 years, 6 years later, kind of a thing. Tell us what Berlin was like.
Well, I tell you right now, those cassette tapes that you sent to Alan that were in my suitcase were lost for a day. Yeah.
What was he listening to on the plane? He was learning the songs.
Well, he had all of my 4-track tapes while I was planning stuff. I brought my 4-track and everything.
Oh,
and I'm not sure what tapes he had, but my work tapes that I had and my 4-track got lost on the flight. And I was flipping out. It's like, I don't remember what I did. I was going to my 4-track.
You had pre-production tapes as well.
Yeah, just working out parts and everything. My parts, my guitar parts, and
you had been writing the solos, etc. Right.
Yeah, but anyways, they got lost, but we found it there. But yeah, I remember Alan. He didn't know the songs at all on the way over there. And it was pretty cool and pretty weird, because after we did the album and came back, we had a rehearsal, and he just knew everything. And of course, because he did take after take after take, but it was just like a struggle. He had to learn everything.
Yeah.
And I saw in some interviews, they were saying, why is Alan trying to do Jason's lines? And I was like, because that's how the song goes.
Well, yeah, I wrote those melodies. Let me just state claim. I wrote those. All of that crazy shit with tapping on my foot. Thank you, Billy White, Doug Keyser, sure, for all of those time signatures that I have to sing over. But that ain't them singing those. They wrote the lyrics. They wrote the tunes underneath them. Surely influence what melodies I'm singing, if you want to call it singing, and if you even want to call it melodies. But that's why. Yeah, that's why he's not trying to sound like me.
It's like those were, I'm like, that's how the songs, they go like that.
That's right.
The quality that's supposed to be there. Some of it changed. I remember some of the verses on Control, he just wasn't sounding right, and so he changed it a little bit. But like Fall, all your melodies, that's all.
Yeah.
He did something totally different. Remember Plastic Lasagna?
Yeah.
With Hidden Instincts?
Yeah.
He did something totally different on that, and that worked okay.
Sure.
And yeah, but that was really cool how he just didn't know anything. And it's not like we had a rehearsal. He's like, oh, how does that part go? It was like he just flew through the whole thing because he had done so many takes.
Yeah.
You know,
well, he's really good at that, and he's a great guy to work with. So,
yeah,
and he's a good singer. He's
Did
even
I hear
better
you guys,
now, in my opinion.
Did I hear you guys say Control and Resistance was recorded in Germany?
Yes.
Yeah, Berlin.
Okay. Why? Let me ask that. Why? What? How did?
Because it was a company, Noise. They had their own studio there, and they had, it was just set up. They had on the fourth floor, I think it was, they had the studio, and then above that, they had all of the, kitchen and dining and pool table and all that kind of stuff. But it was their place. That's where they worked.
I imagine that was a brand new experience for all you guys. You're young and maybe had never been.
Look at Ron's face.
I had never been out of Texas.
Yeah. Okay. So
I had been on a plane before. I was 24.
Yeah.
So what was it like? I mean, outside of the studio, just living in Germany for a while you're recording this record. Take us outside of the studio and explain what's your life like as a Texan guy who's never been on an airplane.
What did you have for? What did you eat?
Yeah, there was lasagna place across the street, and that's where we went almost every day. But the whole culture shock thing for me was just mind blowing. Got off the plane, we landed in. I think we went to France first, or I don't know, but couldn't read anything. I was just flipping out. I had never been on a plane, the whole ears popping and all that stuff. None of that. And it was just like, just mind blown.
Wow.
That was, I'd say in my whole life, that's maybe the top, maybe 1, 2, or 3 experiences, just the whole Berlin, Germany, all of that kind of stuff. It was just unreal.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I can imagine. And how old are you at this time?
24.
24.
It was probably cheaper for the label to pay for the sessions because
they had more control of everything.
Yeah.
It was their studio, and they
was the president of the label Karl Walterbach. Is that right?
Yeah, he went to the place that had the killer lasagna. That's where we met him.
Oh,
and
nice.
I got to tell this story. I ordered a pepperoni pizza, right? In Berlin, a pepperoni. It's not the little, circle. It's peppers.
Yeah.
So they brought me this pepperoni pizza, and I'm flipping out. I'm like, this isn't what I ordered and everything. But anyways, it's like they fixed it and everything. But it was just so the culture thing was just, it was just over.
Wow. Yeah, that's why I asked, because it sounds like it would have been a real shock for a guy from Texas I didn't know you'd never been on an airplane, but wow. Did you guys tour that record?
Yes, we did.
Coroner was it Coroner and Razor?
No, there was a couple of other. It was always Coroner headline, then we were the second band, and they had opening band. I remember Poltergeist was one.
Okay.
I remember one time they gave us shirts, and we all of us in the band wore Poltergeist shirts for our set.
Where did this tour take you?
It was France, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, England, a couple shows in England.
And what about stateside?
No, we didn't do that. That's where Doug and Alan did most of the business for the band, and we didn't do that tour. Probably had something to do with money.
Yeah.
But,
so Control and Resistance, the promotional tour was based largely in Europe. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That was even more experience.
But it makes a lot of sense to me when you think about, and not to just, we're going to move on from Watchtower here in a second. But Watchtower is that ilk of style of extreme music.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that Europe, they love that.
Yeah,
they're into that. Exactly. That's a thing over there. And Watchtower has been cited over and over and over as an influence to a lot of proggy metal bands, a lot of German bands, a lot of thrash bands cite Watchtower as an influence, even though they may not be technically progressive, if you will.
Yeah.
So moving forward, you have a little bit of a foothold with Watchtower with Alan, and you go and go and go. And I was watching from afar, admiring what was happening to Watchtower. I felt involved. I still felt like I was part of the whole thing, and I loved it so much. I was so happy to see ads for the record and pictures of you guys in all the glossy magazines that I was in as well, which was really fun for me.
And we also saw you on MTV Primetime and on tour with Alice Cooper and Judas Priest, so it goes the other way too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, listen, and I talked about it all the time. Anyone who would let me talk about it and that knew about Watchtower, they would ask me about it. And I was like, it would just take over a big portion of the interview. But anyway, so a lot of people wonder, why does it take so long for Watchtower to make music? So you release another record. Tell us about and how long ago did that come out, and what is it called again?
What, the Math Concepts album?
Yes, Concepts album, right.
Oh boy. Well, here's where we get into mathematics, where 5 of the songs that are on that EP that was released in 2016 or 7.
Yeah.
5 of those songs were supposed to have been on the full Mathematics album, which has 11 songs. And that whole thing is just, mathematics is, I don't know if you could say a bad word, with Watchtower, but it's an album that should have happened, and there's so much material that you sang on some tracks, Alan sang on some tracks, and it never was completed. And the biggest issue with Watchtower is what we just talked about before. Lyrics are written. Trying to fit them into music, it just takes so long to make things work. Alan and I had so many issues with, trying to phrase it out this way and everything. And, Doug's lyrics that's the way they were. Doug, you can't change Doug's lyrics. And there was a point where the song Technology in Action, which is on the Math Concepts album, I had lyrics already written for that and everything. And it got to a point where I just told Alan, dude, just change the whole thing. Just change everything. Just write the lyrics how you want to do it.
Yeah, he wrote some. That's a first in Watchtower history.
Yeah, and so he did that. We did The Size of Matter, where I phrased everything out, and that worked out good because I wrote those lyrics to that music. But that's not Watchtower. Watchtower doesn't work that way. Watchtower is like, I think Max Webster works this way too, where one guy writes the lyrics and then they just kind of fit them in somehow. Although Rush does this too, but with Watchtower, it's just so difficult to move forward with songs when you have to work like that. And that's the biggest issue with mathematics. And then plus it's like everybody's older now, moving on, doing different things. But why things take so long, that's the biggest reason. The other reason is whenever a song is written with Watchtower, like I said before, it's not like me and Bobby when we work together. Parts are written and they're kind of played. It doesn't work that way with Watchtower. Most of the time it works out for the better. But then you have to construct tunes based on an idea, and it's going to change. And that tune is like a verse or something in a song. That's going to change into something else. So you can't have 2 written tunes together because they're not going to go like that. And that's another reason why things just took so long with Watchtower.
Yeah, you can't mix up puzzle pieces.
Yeah, and there are a lot of pieces getting thrown. And my best analogy with Watchtower is a food analogy, because everybody's got to eat. You got to eat, but you have all these different ingredients, and you're trying to make a good meal. You've got your hamburger meat, your noodles, but then you have like a strawberry, and then you have a banana. And it's like just trying to force all these tunes in rather than just saying, I'm going to make lasagna. Here's what I need. Let's put this together. Right. Watchtower, and then some, when we were doing mathematics, Doug didn't finish recording. He still has 4 or 5 songs to record. and that's probably never going to get done.
Still to this day.
To this day.
Yeah.
I've had my rhythm tracks done for that album since 2010. I've had my rhythm tracks done for 12 years.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
this also,
There's no deadline.
Until we're done,
But this could also be what makes Watchtower so unique. You guys aren't formulaic. You are putting oddball ingredients together, and sometimes it takes a while to do that, and sometimes it just flat out doesn't work. But when it does, the end result is unlike a lot of other things out there because you're taking chances and trying to put disparate elements together.
Spastic Ink. Go ahead, Jason.
No, I was going to say we could talk about Watchtower for another hour. Let's move into when you start writing songs, like you start putting out little solo cassettes, and I had the pleasure of
Happy Kitties.
On Happy Kitties demo, which is now available. People can look up Happy Kitties and get it probably from your website. What's your website, Ron?
Ron Jarzombeck.com.
That's what I thought.
You remember who titled the first solo CD?
I did? Or you did? What's it called?
I did.
Kitties?
No.
It's called I can't do it.
We used to do that on the way to practice, and you said you should spell it PHHHP.
Yeah.
And that's what I named it.
I can't do it. It's pretty much the elephant sound spelled out. I didn't remember that I titled your first solo record. That's crazy.
Yeah, good stuff. But that had all the songs for me that didn't fit into Watchtower.
Right.
And that
leftovers.
Well, not leftovers, just different songs, just different kind of things. But that evolved into Spastic Ink.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Spastic Ink.
Spastic Ink originally started with me and Bobby writing tunes together. And then same thing like S.A. Slayer. By the time the CD came out, everybody was doing different things. And then I tried to get the second Spastic Ink CD done, and that's when Jason came into play. And Bobby and Pete were pretty much out of the picture, but they hung around a little bit to record a couple of songs. But Doug.
He had Doug from Watchtower come in and do some stuff. Mm-hmm. Alex Webster from
No, he wasn't on that. He came later. That's Blotted Science.
Oh, that's Blotted. My bad. And also Hans Grossman is on Blotted too.
Yes, on the second one.
Which Hans was on the two Howling Sycamore records that I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
So, who came up with the name Spastic Ink?
Bobby did. It was Spastic Pencil first.
Which, that's not.
Man,
that's a try. Yeah. That's something. That's a starting point.
And Spastic Ink won. Spastic Ink won out over Spastic Pencil.
Yeah, and what sucks about the Spastic Ink thing is I had it set up. The first one was incomplete, then compatible, and I wanted to just keep going. I wanted to keep going. Ink combustible is what I wanted the next one to be. And
great.
Incredible or whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And you mentioned Blotted Science. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, after
what's the difference between the styles of Spastic Ink and Blotted Science?
A lot.
Blotted is heavier. Yeah.
Blotted has Webster from Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Hans Grossman from he's played with everybody.
Yeah, Dave, I need to apologize, man. When I sent Jason the Spastic Ink album, I should have sent them out to you too, because it explains. I wrote a big old thing.
Yeah, the liners are incredible.
I saw the vinyl; it looks amazing. I think that's the best. I think that's the best looking album I've ever seen as far as the color scheme.
But send me your address. I'll send you a copy of both vinyl on there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
That label did a great job.
Yeah, great job. But after Spastic Ink, when I kind of figured it was just done, then that's when Blotted Science started, and that was a pretty good move too.
What kind of music would you call that?
Well, I mean, it's got some death metal elements, but what I wanted to do with Blotted Science, I wanted to get me from the tech proggy kind of world. And then I wanted to get three different types of metal. So I got Alex. Luckily, I mean, you wouldn't believe how I lucked out with that guy.
Yeah.
But I got him.
He's an incredible musician. You think Cannibal Corpse is just this like
he's
like roaring crazy shit going on.
Yeah.
No.
How did you get him?
Those guys know how to work it, man.
I was actually scared of him originally.
Who wouldn't be?
But I
He's Cannibal Corpse.
Exactly.
Once you meet him, I bet he's like a nerd like everybody else. Best.
Teddy bear.
Great guy. But he was friends with a student of mine named Axel. And he would come to lessons and say, yeah, he's a great guy. Alex Webster's a great guy. And I got to meet him. I saw Cannibal Corpse at the back room, I think it was, in Austin. Started talking to him and stuff like that. But I wanted to get proggy guy, me, death metal guy, and then Chris Adler was the original drummer for Blotted Science.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And they were coming up. They were coming up around this time.
Yeah.
Lamb of God.
Yeah. And so obviously he got too busy with that. And then there was
how did you I'm sorry, real quick, how did you reach out to Chris Adler?
Yeah.
I think
in Virginia, right?
Yeah, he might have been a Spastic Ink fan or something. I don't know. That's a great question.
Okay.
I don't even remember that.
He just connected via internet with you at some point, maybe.
I'm probably going to remember the story when
Bobby. Maybe it was a no.
No, but I'm going to remember the story though when we're done with this.
We can do this another time and talk about.
So you're putting just different types of metal together to come up with.
We got Blotted Science is what we got. It was very techy, but it was super heavy. I got to tune down to A to low.
It's ridiculously heavy.
Very heavy, yeah.
It's like the heaviest instrumental Watchtower shit, or it's like the heaviest proggy that I've ever heard. I don't. How did you come up with the name?
That's where I was going next. Since we had such a great story with Spastic Ink, how did Blotted Science come about?
I just wanted something that was kind of evil and gory, which was the blotted, blood.
Yeah.
And science, which was the math part about it. And so we originally had Alex came up with the title, The Machinations of Dementia, but that was too long. People would say, what's the name of the band? And I'd rattle that off and they were like, what? So we made that the name of the album, the CD.
Yeah.
The band became Blotted Science. But then Chris Adler couldn't do it. And then I had a rough time trying to find a drummer. Derek Roddy was in the picture next. He was from, I can't believe I don't remember this, but he was a very popular death metal drummer. That didn't work. Communication problems all over the place. And Charlie came up about a year later. And then we did the first album. That was great.
And Charlie was in. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get this wrong. Tentacles.
Behold the Octopus.
Behold the Octopus. That's it.
Yep. Nuts. They were nuts.
Yeah.
Would not believe these dudes on stage. I saw them at Emos.
Yeah, Tentacles. I was close.
Yeah. And that's one of the most blown away I've ever been. Not with lights and stage stuff and all that. Just the guys on stage playing their asses off. It was Behold the Octopus with Charlie. And then, but Charlie was more of like a studio drummer. He did a lot of different styles. And the big issue with Charlie was that he played too many different styles. And so after the first CD, I was like, I'm listening to too much death metal stuff, trying to figure out, what kind of tune to put with this. So then I figured we should get a real death metal drummer guy. And that's what
who's going to bring like your vision.
Well, when some of the tunes that I would play for Derek Roddy, he would just nail them.
Wow.
It was just booming. I would listen to him half speed, and his blast beats were so accurate, but we just had a bad communication problem. It just wasn't clicking. But his playing was just nuts.
How'd you hook up with Hans Grossman?
That was through Alex. They toured, Cannibal toured with, I think it was maybe the Necrophagist.
Okay, right.
Or something like that.
He played with everybody. Hate Eternal.
Yeah.
Which is a Florida band, but he's a German guy, right?
Yeah, Hannes is, yeah.
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 So considering all your accolades and your reputation within the industry, and especially among other guitar players, your peers, etc., have you ever auditioned for like an established band that we maybe have heard of? Are you one of those guys like in the Metallica movie, the Some Kind of Monster, where they're trying to find a new bass player? Have you ever been in one of those situations where you're trying to you went out for an audition to
The
for a
only,
big band?
the only other band that where I wasn't kind of like running everything was the Marty Friedman situation.
Yeah, okay.
That happened in 2003. We did the West Coast tour with was Alex Skolnick and Chris Poland. We did
wow.
we did about probably like 20 gigs on the West.
And that's like your own like metal version of G3 or something.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Well, Skolnick had a jazz thing where he played like Ozzy Osbourne songs. It was cool. It was
he's been doing that a long time.
They're still together, I think.
Based out of New York, yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier.
Real
Go ahead,
quick.
Jason.
Derek Roddy, Aurora Borealis, Council of the Fallen, Hate Eternal.
Hate
He was
Eternal.
Also in Hate
Yeah, that's
Eternal.
what it was.
Malevolent Creation, which is coming to Austin in a couple of days or something.
He's a fantastic.
Also, Nile. Nile is a huge band. Serpent's Rise, Today's the Day. They're huge. He's like a god of the underground. Nicknamed as One Take Derek.
Nice.
Well,
Oh,
what the hell? I'll go into it. That's what one of our problems was he wanted to play everything in one take. And, when me and Alex were writing the songs, we did it in sections. And I'm like, just play what you would play for this section right here. And he wouldn't do it.
Wow.
He had to play the whole song. And, we are, it's just recordings at the time, what it still is to this day. But, we're just trying to construct songs. And he would have to play the song in one take, the whole song. And I'm like, I don't need the whole song. Just what are you going to play for this one part right here? And he just wouldn't do it.
Well, Ron, he's not trying to be difficult in the man's defense.
But he did play everything in one take. And I'm
Amazing.
like, yeah.
Well, I just found that on the good old wiki, and it's impressive.
But yeah, his one takes were perfect, but it's like if you wanted to change one part of the song, you'd have to redo the whole song.
yeah.
Well, that list of bands that I just rattled off, that's pretty godly for your resume of people that you have that respect of.
He is death metal. I see something else, man. Jeez.
Wow. Well, man, you've been able to surround yourself of course, you've been able to surround yourself with the best players, and I don't even have to wonder why.
Yeah.
You're very, very talented, and you're not a one-trick pony. You like silly music. You're in. I'll tell a Ron story.
Oh no.
Hey, Ron, what's your biggest influence? Oh, Richard Band, from all those cheesy 80s.
Wow, you remember that?
Of course, you were. So I feel like Bobby might even say that he's influenced by Bugs Bunny cartoons, because you think about all the background music behind like old horror films, dun, 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 dun,
Well, that's where like the morning with Squeaky and all of that stuff came in.
You could put all of that shit behind a Bugs Bunny cartoon. That's where I'm throwing. I'm throwing it in two different places. They're the same. It's the same score. It's the same type of musical score.
But what happened later was Blotted Science, the EP that we did, that scored to Bug movies. So that falls into that same Bugs Bunny category. So it's 24 minutes synced up to Bug. And I would sit there, timing everything out, writing it, but the whole EP is timed out to Bug movies. So that's Bugs Bunny even has an effect on that too.
Wow. Earlier in the episode, you were talking about Donnie Van Stavern, and you mentioned that when he had the opportunity to join Riot, he jumped at it because he idolized Riot. That was his dream gig, is what you called it. Yeah. What would your dream gig be?
Well, if y'all want to go back a little bit of ways, when Bobby got in Halford, you know, I was just like, man, if that would have happened for me back then at that time, but it just didn't. You know, I don't know why I wasn't.
Well, and Bobby says he could have gotten you the Sebastian gig.
Well, let's not get into that. But the Halford thing for me, playing.
Okay.
Let's not even go there.
Okay.
But yeah, the Halford thing. I mean, it's like I can play Stained Class. I can play Victim of Change. You know, I'm here.
Yeah. You've got the hair.
I've got the Glenn Tipton haircut.
Well,
you
have a.
I can play with my pinky extended like Tipton if they wanted me to. You know,
but you have your twin on the drum kit. You know, basically.
Yeah.
And you guys could play the songs blindfolded too.
But go ahead, Dave.
Did you try out for the Halford band?
My name was never in the hat, and you would have thought, since my brother was in the band and Swiss Chris was the guy that put Bobby's name in the hat of course, Bobby earned it, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like I was never considered for that, and a little bit of just kind of pissed off about that whole situation. It's even to this day, I kind of think about that whole thing sometimes, and I get pissed off about it.
Well, you can.
But I know. It's like it's old. It didn't happen. And
yeah, I'm not trying to talk you out of the tree, but at the same time, it's like, you know, the boss already had done the hiring, is what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We talk about Rob Halford every time we do an episode. I think he's the most talked about guy on our show. Probably him and Kiss Alive.
Yeah.
The most mentioned. But you know what? Riot comes up a lot.
Yeah, sure.
It's pretty weird that we talk about Riot a lot on this show.
We should tell people also, Ron, that you have a long-running Rush tribute band in San Antonio called Exit Stage Left. Is that still happening? Or
I did the Marty Friedman thing. That was 2003. Was the first tour that we did, the West Coast, the United States, and then in 2007, I remember I was starting the Rush tribute band at that time, and Marty calls again. That was 2007. So the Rush tribute band has been going on since about 2008. Because I remember right when I got back from Europe with Marty, that's when the band started. And so it's, you know.
And it's called Exit Stage Left.
Exit Stage Left. Yeah, the name of the second Rush live album.
Wow,
nice. I was doing that. I was playing with some other cover bands in town, Dragonfly, Praying Mantis, stuff like that. But that was just covers. But
this Rush tribute, Exit Stage Left? I saw some photos, and we have some in our slideshow coming up. When we at our introduction that we do, we're going to have a slideshow. In one of the photos, you're wearing the kimono. Do you guys all wear the kimonos all the time, or do you change out because of, you know, era?
Well, I've worn like 10 different ones, but I have 2 black ones, an official red, a real kimono. Yeah. I have a blue one. I have another blue, another kind of mixed in. But yeah, I have about 7.
You have the white one. You have a white one like 2112? Yeah. Yeah.
Wore that a couple of times, but
that's hysterical. You know, Portnoy wanted to do that when we did that Sigmund and the Sea Monsters thing.
Oh yeah,
he wanted us to have kimonos, but it didn't manifest. So
why not?
I don't know. I would have totally worn that. Would have been cool for each guy to have their own color, like Kiss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, would have been fun.
No, but the other guys.
Since it's not a 3-piece, you know, we were a 4-piece.
Well, yeah, we're a 4-piece.
You're a 4-piece too, right?
Okay. Yeah, but Pete's in the band too. You know, from Spastic Ink and Riot too.
Pete Perez, who was in Carrion, another Texas metal band that was awesome, he's an amazing musician as well, and just a cool kooky dude. Yeah,
kooky dude,
and he's friends with McLean. All the people that we've been. If there's a connection with S.A. Slayer, Watchtower, Hellstar, Militia, all these people know each other. It's a clan. Yeah. It's crazy.
So real quick, Ron, since you're such a Rush freak, what's your favorite Rush album?
Probably the one that broke everything is probably 2112. But from 2112 all the way to maybe Permanent Waves, Hemispheres, Farewell to Kings, that whole time period, I just worship everything that they did around that time. The first time I saw Rush was on the Farewell to Kings tour.
Me too.
We were too young. I remember me and Bobby, I think they were touring with Thin Lizzy, I think it was. I might have that wrong, but it was a 2112 tour and we were just too young. But Rush was the second band that I ever saw live. First was UFO. No. Yeah, UFO opened for Rush, and it was Stitched with Angel. Remember Angel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Angel with Ted Nugent. That would have been my second show. And then my first show was UFO and Rush.
Yeah.
I think Max Webster was also on the bill, but I missed
Probably.
him.
Yeah, they always brought Max Webster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think UFO was in between. It was Max and then UFO. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. What got you hooked on like rock music? What made you like want to just play rock guitar and not, classical guitar? Or
I think I've been more of a band guy. All of the
that's a good answer. That's a really good answer.
I like being a band guy, to where I'm not like singled out or anything.
Yeah.
I like writing more than all of the other stuff. I like writing more than doing solos and everything. Just again, it comes from Rush, all the concepts and everything that they do. I like that aspect of the whole band thing more. Both Spastic Ink CDs. Well, for the first one, kind of. Both Blotted Science CDs were concept album. I'm working on another one right now, another solo thing.
Excellent.
Just a lot of concepts, a lot of writing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
do you have a website or anything where people can find all of your music?
Yeah, the ronjarzombeck.com. I have it set up like apps because I'm trying to get to doing some apps. I have 6 apps out right now too.
Oh yeah, you create apps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have 3 multi-tracking apps right now, and I have songs that are released as apps, and it's like a multi-track. You can select what parts you hear, and then I'm working on another one right now. It's kind of like backing tracks, but it constructs atonal chord progressions too. And then I have 2 other writing apps, System 2412, which looks like 2112.
Nice.
Yeah.
Of course it does.
Hey, I had to do something, man. Rush was, there's no more Rush, and I just wanted to do something just to.
You're doing it, man. You know that band was a game changer, and they're the biggest influence on your life. One of the many, because your hair.
The number one.
No one in Rush has your haircut. So, but Judas
right
Priest.
there.
Yeah, Priest is in there too. No, that's where I was going with it. So, Priest and Rush and Kiss. I would say back to the earlier in the interview today, you mentioned Kiss Alive as like a game changer for you because you were like, much like me. My story goes when I discovered that at the my neighborhood buddy's house. We're listening to that. Me experiencing that for the first time. That changed my whole thing, and it sounds like that's pretty much what happened to you as well.
Yeah. I remember when we were kids, I remember somebody across the street had Get Your Wings by Aerosmith.
Oh, yeah.
But that didn't stick as much as Kiss, though.
Well, there was no fire and bombs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the whole package was Kiss.
Yeah. Kiss kind of had the advantage when you're 14 years old and there's fire and bombs and blood.
Jason, were you in the Kiss Army?
I was not officially, but I did order things off of the typing paper inserts that you pulled out that you could order a poster for like $2. I always did that, and I got a belt buckle, I got a poster, stuff like that, but I never officially signed up and got my membership.
Yeah, we didn't either. I would always see that whenever we'd buy Dress to Kill or Hotter Than Hell, it would come with the Kiss Army, join the Kiss Army, but we never did that.
And it was cool because you could go to like the Kmart and buy a Kiss record, but you would also, and this was my favorite thing to do, is on Saturdays I could walk to the local head shop Which, there's a room. I've talked about this kind of shit too on the Talk Louder podcast before. There's a room in the back with the beads that you're not allowed to go into when you're 12.
Oh, yeah.
Because they sell, I don't know what they sell in there because
we don't know.
Right, it doesn't matter because the Kiss posters and the Kiss records and anything like that, they were all out front right when you walked in. You just Kiss stuff and hippie shit everywhere, and you could buy all kinds of great Kiss stuff right there. Mm-hmm. And that was like it was life changer. Let me ask you this real quick, because we got to wrap it up. But hey, man, don't you think like a record like Kiss Alive, the way that it's put together is almost like a concept? You're big on these concepts and how things work and the way songs are even put together. Maybe not the songs being put together like a concept, but that album cover magically comes across to me like this is a package.
It is. It was the songs, everything.
Look at the fucking album cover shot, even though it's a staged.
Yes,
shot.
It is.
Yeah,
yes, I know that. Yeah.
Well, I know what Jason's saying, though. Yeah,
Dave has interviewed Gene, and Gene talks about how it's a totally staged thing, but
yeah,
it was
totally.
like, that's the money shot. When you see that as a 12-year-old boy, you're going to hell tomorrow because you want that.
I've always said that I am eternally envious of the two guys on the back of that album cover holding up that banner, because that shot is just the epitome of 70s arena rock concerts. The whole place is full of smoke. Everybody's a hippie. They're holding up that banner, and that album is going to outlive all of us. And I thought it would be so rad to be one of those dudes on the back of that album, because it's such a classic.
Did you see that they redid that picture recently?
Yeah. Like one of the guys is a doctor and one of them's a realtor or something like that.
You know what? I don't know about you guys, but before Kiss, I just kind of remembered it was the Beatles, the Red album and the Blue album. Did y'all have those albums?
No.
Never did the Beatles. No.
Who got you into the Beatles? How'd you just turn around? Who?
Mom.
Your mom.
Wow. That's the first album.
Hey, I'm sorry. I know she recently passed. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Obviously, she was dynamite, so she turned you on to the fucking Beatles, dude.
Yeah, but that was the first albums that we got, but that was before Kiss. But that's what we. I got to tell a story before we
do it. Please, you have the floor.
With me and Bobby, we were doing the music thing back then, and we would have bunk beds, and you'd have those the rails that would come over, and then they had those two things that went under the mattress. I don't know if you remember this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We would sing these Beatles songs, but we would take that railing thing and we would flip it to where the rail was under the mattress, and the two things that poked in, those were our microphone stands.
So you were miming to Beatles songs. And
Which Beatle were you?
No, I mean, just, love me, do, please me. And then, later can come together and all that stuff. But that's what the first was. But
bunk beds at an early age turning into, arena stage.
Yeah, microphone.
It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Bob was the one that got us those albums, though. So
wow. That's pretty special.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Ron, this has been fantastic, and it couldn't have gone any better, and we could do this again anytime you want. If there's some new stuff you want to plug, or even just tell stories again, because we didn't really get into half of the Slayer, half of the Watchtower, and what it was really like touring with Marty Friedman, who's also an amazing worldly guitar player who also is a game changer himself. What it was like just even working with him. Did you write songs with him, or were you just
kind of glad we're talking about this too, because when we were on tour, I was hoping that it would turn into something else, like Marty was doing with Jason Becker.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, I'm nowhere near Jason Becker, but I'm just saying teaming up with Marty was what I wanted to do. And it never got there. I remember I would go when we were on tour, Marty would do like little clinics during the day. And I remember a fan asked him, he said, "Hey, I know Ron is playing in your band. Is there a chance that y'all might do some writing and stuff together?" And he said, "Well, we're on tour right now doing this stuff together." And it was never really even considered. But I was hoping that would happen, but it didn't. After that other tour, he got a band in Japan, I think.
Yeah.
And then he got Chargy, his drummer, and they got that girl bass player who's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then, got Jordan Ziff to play guitar with him. That's his current band now. But yeah, I was hoping that we could have did some writing. But Marty did play on Incompatible.
Yeah.
And he did one of the songs that you're singing on, Jason.
That's right.
The acronym song Marty's playing, we're trading solos.
I've sung on 2 songs that have Marty that I know of.
Wow.
And
yeah,
I've never even met him. I did a song with him on the Howling Sycamore record, and I did a song acronym on your record, and I've never met the man, which is not, I guess, that weird nowadays. Because everything's sort of written on the internet,
Yeah.
Yeah. Ron, this has been very special. Thank you for being
Absolutely.
with us today.
Yeah, Ron. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate your time and all your stories, and wish you continued success. And thanks for joining us. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave, along with our special guest today, Ron Jarzombeck. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast.
All right, guys. It was great.